This is BBC World News with me, Komla Dumont, live from Buckingham Palace on the day that Prince William and Catherine Middleton will become man and wife. 6 hours from now, Prince William and Catherine Middleton will be taking their marriage vows. The love story that started at university as teenagers will be complete. Thousands have spent the night camped out at various points along the route from Buckingham Palace to Westminster Abbey. As many as 2 billion people are expected to watch the ceremony live on televisions across the globe. More now on the royal wedding. As you can see behind me, a crowd is gathering outside Buckingham Palace. I saw children in their pajamas here. They stayed up all night just to catch a glimpse of the newlyweds. And when they travel here after the service at Westminster Abbey, of course, you know, the global audience will be watching everything. And this audience is expected to be far bigger, some estimates say, than anything else that you've seen on television before. It will top the 750 million people who are estimated to have watched the most popular event ever broadcast. That was the 1981 wedding of William's parents, Prince Charles and Diana Spencer. This number might hit 2 billion. Time zones may be against the Americans who want to watch the royal wedding, but the US TV networks will still provide blanket coverage, providing what they think their compatriots will watch. So is the nation that proudly broke free from Britain almost 250 years ago getting excited by a royal wedding? Our correspondent Rajesh Mirchandani now reports from Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles, there's a little corner that's forever Britain. This traditional English pub is now bursting with pride. They're getting ready to host a royal wedding viewing party in the small hours of the morning. No alcohol at that time, but it hasn't deterred potential guests.
People are starting to get really excited. The last 4 days, the phone hasn't stopped ringing off the hook about what, you know, the event, where can we get tickets. It's really, it's very exciting, very exciting. And the public really are getting into it.
Straight ahead for me, sir, right here.
This way, sir, there we go.
This is, in fact, officially Brit Week in Los Angeles, and now the annual celebration has become a tribute to the wedding, for most anyway.
Every single question I've had, down the line has been about that lovely young couple. It's tremendous. It's really good.
What kind of a man gets up and watches a royal wedding? Is there a ball involved? No, then no, I won't be getting up early to watch it.
Of course, Tinseltown hates to be upstaged, so this famous wax museum has a giant card for well-wishers to sign. Sorry to tell you, but your greetings won't reach them in time. Outside, there's also a big screen showing the coverage. It's right in the heart of Hollywood. So will people here stay up to watch?
I feel like there's a history of interest in royal weddings too, with Grace Kelly and Diana, and it's something we're automatically going to be drawn to. I want to be a princess.
To see something like that, it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be awesome. And I wish them all the best.
And you're going to get up to watch it?
Yes, yes, yes.
Of course, the time difference here in Los Angeles presents something of a dilemma for those of us who need quite a lot of beauty sleep. The royal wedding coverage on television begins around midnight, so you may well be waving one of these. You might also need one of these. Rajesh Mirchandani, BBC News, Los Angeles.
A lot of excitement there in the United States. Well, the royal wedding is also eagerly awaited down under in Australia, where a poll out this week suggested that support for republicanism has dwindled to its lowest level in 17 years. Let's cross to Sydney, where I can speak to the BBC's Nick Bryce. Before we get into those poll numbers, Nick, just tell us, is there Kate and William fever gripping the country?
Well, the confetti is definitely blown as far as Australia, it has to be said. There is a level of public enthusiasm here. There's a very high level of media enthusiasm here. This is a huge event for the Australian media. We've seen anchors decamp to where you are, outside Buckingham Palace, outside Westminster Abbey. They're anchoring their coverage from there. It's in prime time here in Australia, so many people will end work on Friday evening. They can go home or they can go to the pub or wherever and watch this at a reasonable hour. It's going to be on at 8 o'clock in the evening on the east coast of Australia. That's significant for sports fans as well, because it means that the royal wedding has biffed the normal Friday night football in Australia, the rugby league, the Aussie rules football that's so important to sports fans here. That's been taken off air on the main terrestrial channels, and in its place is the royal wedding. And we're expecting a huge audience here. 2 out of 3 of the most watched events in television history have involved the Windsors. The wedding of Charles and Diana and the funeral of Diana. The Sydney Olympics was the other one, and we're expecting another huge television audience tonight.
Now break down those poll numbers for us that suggest that support for republicanism is dwindling. What's behind that?
Well, I think the Republican movement's had a pretty miserable year. I mean, you could arguably call it an annus horribilis, and a number of things have happened. One is that Australia has a Republican Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, who will be at the wedding in London today, who doesn't think this question should be revisited while the Queen is on the throne. You'll remember there was a referendum in 1997, and partly because Republicans were split over what kind of model of a republic they wanted, it was defeated. She said that question should not be revisited while Queen Elizabeth's on the throne. You've had the success of that movie, The King's Speech, where the survival of the monarchy became a joint Anglo and Australian exercise. You'll remember the speech therapist, played by Geoffrey Rush, was an Australian. And you've had the public relations juggernaut of the royal wedding, which has been amplified because Prince William paid a very important visit here after the floods in Queensland. He also visited the quake-affected city of Christchurch in New Zealand. That's got a lot of goodwill towards Prince William. And there are doubtless people who are Republicans in Australia who are showing little interest in this event whatsoever. But that poll did come out earlier in this week suggesting that the support for the Republican model has dwindled to its lowest level since 1994.
Interesting stuff there. Many thanks to you. So let's move on now. How is this wedding being seen in Europe? Our correspondent Stephen Evans is in Berlin, joins me now. Stephen, I know Berlin is a party town. Don't ask me how I know, but I know. Is there royal wedding, fever there? Are people planning street parties because of this?
Not quite street parties, but it is wall-to-wall coverage. The TV stations are all wall-to-wall. The papers are. Here's Bild this morning. And to cover my own face, it's the whole front page. 12:25 is the hour that Kate becomes the princess. Tagesspiegel, just the same. Even the left-wing paper is kind of covering it. It's the wedding of the year, but it's making a bit of a joke because it's about it's the union of the Palestinian factions, but it's still covering it. Spiegel, just the same, all over the front page, though hard-headed, uses the word circus there, so that's a much more hard-headed look. But there is a genuine obsession, I think is the word, with the British royal family. Commercial organisations that look very hard at numbers of audiences, that kind of thing, are covering it. There is a genuine, deep interest in this wedding and in the aristocracy. No doubt of that at all.
All right. Well, no surprise, the crowd's gathering right here. And don't forget our continuing coverage of the royal wedding throughout the day right here on BBC. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. You can get in touch with me via Facebook, or I'm also on Twitter, BBC Komla Dumont. We're watching every move. We're getting all the commentary, full coverage, of course, from the BBC. Where else would you want to be? So join us. We're going to be here through the morning, from the moment when Prince William arrives at Westminster Abbey to the point when Kate arrives. They say their vows, and then we'll all be waiting right here, Buckingham Palace, right there on that balcony. That's what everyone's waiting for that very special kiss. You're watching BBC News. I'm Komla Dumont here at Buckingham Palace. Visit our website. There's more there as well.